One of the biggest problems we have today is how, at a governmental level, there is an element of being complicit in decision-making that is causing significant harm. Because it's not a crime to do that, then it continues. In fact, it's escalating. And we know that if we look at even evidence that's been brought to bear by True Cost, who did some very good number crunching for the Ecosystems and Biodiversity report back in 2010, where they looked to the cost how much it would cost to put back in place the damage and destruction created by the top, I think it was 100 companies in the world. And the figure was absolutely enormous. I think for 2008 it was $2 billion. For 2009 it was $4 billion. For 2010 it was thought to be doubled again. So we're looking at something that's exponentially curving upwards. And governments, of course, are signing off on this type of corporate activity. So the problem is that we have a system that is no longer working, and the blindness to this, or the fear to actually turn around and face it and say, this doesn't work anymore, I can't sign off these contracts. And that's driven by a fear of not meeting an existing paradigm that puts profit first, that puts jobs or the defense of it will create jobs first, although that's very rarely truly the case that it brings jobs into a community. If anything, a community is adversely impacted economically as well. So this is about creating legislation that gives assistance to those ministers who are under huge pressure to buckle with corporate lobbying, the powers of corporate lobbying today, because corporate lobbying actually isn't governed legislatively at all. That really is a no man's land. And by creating legislation that actually outlaws the lobbying of something that would create significant harm, what you're doing is you're taking away the pressure it's kind of like the big foot coming down on the back of a head. It's being alleviated so that those ministers can actually stand up and say, I can't give you those contracts because it's unlawful. Of course I wouldn't go there. That's a crime. So it enables governments to then start to make decisions and create policies that support the innovation in the other direction. And that's also about creating jobs. This is one huge job creation scheme for civilization as a whole, because racking up energy from renewables, for instance, rather than unconventional tar extraction, means an awful lot of people need to start being trained up. So this is also about decentralizing it, about bringing back. I mean, here in Britain, we have a history of actually outsourcing our production. But it's actually about bringing it back in, creating jobs in our own homelands for our own people. This is powerful.